Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Good. Sorry, I'm a little bit late coming on, but
No, no worries. That was a great interview. Yeah.
she's like, oh, she's such a rock star in her field. It's unbelievable. But yeah, so that was really neat to talk to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I'm so glad. So I love your mom. Kelly's mom is Jewel Parker Rhodes, and I interviewed her on my podcast, and I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with her. So I'm so happy to be talking to you now, and she's been like from day one singing your praises, as all good moms do. So anyway, this is such a treat for me now to do like two generations in of interviewing.
Yes. And hopefully my daughter's 3 now, but a couple decades, maybe you'll talk to her next.
Yeah, get her going. Come on.
Right.
And you wrote your first book, published book, when you were 15. Or
Yeah, that's
how
right.
old, or it published when you were 15, or how old were you when you wrote it?
I wrote it the summer after I was 14, like the summer before. Yeah. I was 14 years old, so I was going to turn 15, and it was just a small contemporary novel, a really slim volume. And yeah, kind of got lucky, and it was a really exciting adventure. So this is sort of my second one, coming back for more.
So what happened between that one and this one?
Well, I went to college. I became a mom. I worked some jobs. I actually used to work for Reading Partners. So I used to help kids with reading tutoring and getting connected with reading tutoring in New York City. I lived in Hawaii, got married. A lot happened. Yeah.
Thank you for summing up your life in about two sentences. And now your next book, Agnes at the End of the World, which I could not believe when I was reading about this book. I'm like, this is about a viral pandemic. I don't think I'd even heard that term or thought about that term. And I certainly would never have imagined I would be living in one at the time of reading this.
Well,
How did,
it is such a funny story because I sort of write through my fears and my worries. And when I started this book, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was really trying to reckon with what it meant to become a caretaker and become a mom. So I wrote this 16-year-old girl who winds up in the position of being a surrogate parent to her 8-year-old brother, Ezekiel, who has type 1 diabetes, and they live in this cult, and it's very dangerous for him because medicine is forbidden. But I was thinking through all of this during the Zika epidemic. I don't know if you remember that, but I lived yeah, it was
yeah.
awful. I lived in Hawaii at the time, and NPR was saying, don't go near standing bodies of water. I wore DEET every day of my pregnancy. Like, my daughter can probably recognize the smell of DEET. Like, it was, and I was so frightened. And I think my way of working through it was just to write about an epidemic and how it can change our lives, how it impacts families in particular. And here we are.
Oh my gosh. So having thought the whole thing through and lived it through your characters, now that you're living in real life, how, are you more prepared, less prepared? Like, how do you feel? What's the same? What's different than you imagined?
It's really funny because my daughter's very stressed out by sort of this world she had kind of disappeared. And it's really similar for Agnes and her brother. She runs to the outside world expecting she's going to find, hope in a better place, and everything is just gone. So it's this trauma of emptiness and silence and quiet, and how do you keep your hope and faith alive? And my daughter, she had this crazy social schedule. She's such a social butterfly, and now she's just home with me. We've had a lot of regressions, and it's been anxiety provoking. So I actually did sit down and think, like, oh my goodness, like, Agnes, what did she do like to help her little brother through this? And she serves a lot of mac and cheese, which I'm definitely doing. She talks him through things at night, tells him bedtime stories, and she lets him feel his emotions. Like, he's tantruming throughout the book. He will be screaming and crying, and then other days he's just fine. And it's just so weird to see that, like, echoed
Yeah.
in real life. Yeah.
You're describing my house. Right? One day my son is like, everything is terrible and he hates me. And the next day, it's all cuddles and sunshine, and all the rest of them too. It's like a zoo. Yeah.
So it's a roller coaster, isn't it?
Yeah. And I wish I could say I wasn't also on my own emotional roller coaster, but I think as parents, I don't know about you, but I feel like it also is like the intersection of our own sort of escalating emotions and then interacting with our kids. So it's craziness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
I've just found it really important to sort of like try and take care of myself, because all that anxiety spills over, and I can see how, you know, fear and yeah, so just trying to stay positive and stay calm. It's all we
So
can.
what are your self-care hacks? Mine is mostly reading, but what's yours?
I read a lot too. I love reading. It helps a lot. I do a little meditating. I try to exercise. And, you know, I just try and build quiet spaces in the house that I can sort of escape to if I can. I'm very lucky because my husband's working from home, so we can have sort of two hands sometimes with Clara. Yeah.
And are you doing much writing? I'm looking behind you. What is this board you've got going on
Oh,
here?
yes. Well, I have been doing a little bit of writing, but mostly I'm a plotter, so I plot everything out first. And this was my beat sheet. I just took the cards down. I follow like the Save the Cat beat sheet. It tends to be the same plot that, you know, movies tend to follow in terms of the three acts. And I was working on a story about a biracial family set during like the Jim Crow era South. So something very different from this book. Yeah. But
And
just in
did you,
the early stages. Yeah.
wow, I'm so impressed. So you know everything that's happening before you even start the sentences.
What I always say is that I think that I know what's going to happen. And then there will always be a surprise. And then I sort of go at it again and we work through it again. Yeah. And my husband is my sounding board for all plot issues. So.
And do you show stuff to your mom? Like, what's it like having a mother who is in the same field as you?
It's so nerve-wracking because she's so good. And I'll just shout out, like, her book right now is Black Brother, and it's amazing. Like, she's just an amazing writer. And so I give things to her when I'm pretty sure that they're okay. And also when I'm in an emotional place to hear that they are not okay. But she's a great writing teacher, honestly. She's, you know, I couldn't hope for better. So.
Oh, that's so nice. I know. I can't wait to see what your daughter comes up with. And this is like, so when you're writing, is it always, when you do the writing part, having done all the plotting and all the rest, like, do you have a structure? Do you like to write at a certain time of day, or are you always in that desk there? Or like, where do you do your magic?
So I am very much a morning person. That's when everything sort of comes together for me. So I usually try and get up early before my daughter's awake, and I just go. I take like an hour. I used to do word counts, but I found that there was a lot of pressure to get words out that weren't necessarily strong words. You know, I write for like an hour, and that's usually all of the juice that I had in the tank. Like after that, it's like, okay, now let's like, you know, take care of my kid and do other things. And so, you know, I'm light touch writer. Yeah.
But that's,
And
it all adds, it
yes,
adds up. I mean, this is such a great reminder. Like 1 hour a day, you could poo-poo it and be like, well, it's only an hour. But like, look at this, you have a book. I mean, it's like, you know.
It does add up, and you just kind of have to keep that faith strong that like the story will get where it needs to go. I really struggled in my 20s with impatience. Like I wanted to have a book and I wanted to have it right now. And I think actually being a mom has kind of taught me that no, it's a long game. Like go slow, piece by piece. That's always my advice for writers now. Yeah.
I love that. Go slow, piece by piece. I could use that in many areas. Well, Kelly, thank you for writing. And also your essay is going to be on, the essay that you wrote with your mom is going to be on We Found Time next week for our Mother's Day edition or issue or whatever you want to call it. And I know you worked on another piece too. So thank you so much for contributing to the magazine.
Thanks so much, Zibby, and happy Mother's Day coming up.
Happy Mother's Day. All right.
Bye.
Thanks for coming on. Bye.